Hi guys, and welcome to round 2 of the Content Creators Quarantine Tournament. I did manage to get through round 1 up against Samurai Warrior in a 2-0 series, and now we have a best of 3 up against my son HW. I'm going to be taking my loyal and ever good Lizard Doggos and General Lizardmen up against the nasty and vile forces of Chaos. An old school grudge match, which is always good to see. Now for my forces, you can see I often like to play Lizardman in this fashion if you've seen many of my videos. In the front line we have a mixture of Skink Cohorts and Saurus Warriors. They do a decent job at holding the front line, especially up against Marauders, and the red-crested Skink Boys do a decent job up against the more heavily armoured forces as well. We've gone for a relatively defensive formation surrounding our doggos. So we have some Salamander hunting packs, including the Umbral Tide, regiment-renowned Salamanders here, do that great burst damage, big old fireballs as they spit those flames and tear down large foes. And of course the Umbral Tide also have stalks, so they're currently hidden here. We also have gone for the Amaxon Barbs, the regiment-renowned Raised On hunting packs, adding poison to those attacks to try and slow down enemy skirmishers and allow the Salamanders to do a little bit more damage on top. We have 2 units of Cold One Spear Riders protecting these guys in the back here. Going to be used quite defensively to try and counter enemy skirmishers and protect these guys as much as possible. We have Lord Krokgar on top of the mighty Grimlock here, roaring victorious with his Hand of the Gods, just so he can go toe-to-toe with pretty much any of the Chaos picks that you often see in this matchup. So if they bring any big shag-offs and stuff, he can also go toe-to-toe with them. He can hunt down the big Chicken Lord himself and go after Kolek quite comfortably. We have a Skink Priest of Beast coming with a Manticore Summon and Flock of Doom. And that's going to be it for our forces here. So quite a defensive build overall. We're certainly going to be trying to get to grips here with the Chaos forces. So for my son, he's gone for a wide formation here of Marauder Horsemen, mixed in with the Thronax variety and also the Javelins, trying to counter skirmish me as much as possible. Already getting some nice early damage on my Maxim Barbs. We do have Salamanders waiting in the wing here to try and trade fairly effectively. We have some Chaos Warhounds with poison as well. They're such good value poison Warhounds. They can slow down targets and really help you pick apart your opponent. Also get into that back line, and they do decent damage up against Skinks. For his main battle line, he has Chaos Marauders with 1 Chevron. I wasn't too worried about these guys, but still, they trade very effectively against Skinks and can do okay up against Saurus Warriors, but they will eventually get dragged down. We have 2 units in as well of Chaos Warriors with great weapons. These guys can be fantastic at getting through that thick hide of the Saurus Warriors and doing general damage overall. They have very good armor themselves as well. So he's got quite a very scary and deadly group of combatants right here. We have a Dragon Ogre Shagoff, 2 Exalted Heroes who I did really not expect, but they are actually quite perfect in this matchup. They can hunt down the dinosaurs and characters. They're fast on their steeds and certainly pack a punch. They work very well as bodyguards as well for Archaon, the ever-chosen here, the mighty, fearless god, well, not god, but chosen of the gods, hiding behind a little tree. But I don't blame him. The Lizardmen are mighty foes indeed. He's going to be coming in with Fireball and Cascading Firecloak. So without further ado, let's get this battle underway. So as you can see, we're trying to push away these Marauders with the Skink Skirmishers and trade relatively evenly so far, with our Salamanders getting 1 or 2 volleys in. And Maxim Barb's taking a little bit of damage. So at this point of the battlefield, I have seen my opponent's front line. Haven't really taken into account his hero core hiding in the trees yet. So I'm deciding to rotate my forces round to the right-hand flank here. I'm trying to get to grips with these Chaos Marauders as quickly as possible, as I was worried about being overrun in the skirmish game by so many forces, and I wanted to keep my Salamanders active to take down any of those big nasty beasties. A long shot here, an absolute Kobe of a fireball coming in after the Skink Priest. And as you can see, the Marauder Horsemen getting a little bit too close here, and we're going to unleash some flaming volleys into them, doing some huge burst damage coming in from those Salamanders, Maxim Barbs as well, adding into the mix. We're going to be once again using our Saurus Warriors just to try and keep them away, and we've taken a bit of damage on the Maxim Barbs, but I think so far the skirmish game is actually going relatively well in our favour, mainly due to the Umbral Tide getting such great value. But some really nice shots into the side of the Saurus Warriors as well, forcing me to constantly drag my forces back and forth. You can see some of my doggos are in fact getting caught up on each other as we speak. So we're continuing at this point just to slowly move around the right hand side. We're trying to do a lot of micro here as much as possible, but then we're moving, wrapping around, trying to get to grips with these Marauders while this hero core is so far away. Try to drag them down, and hopefully by the time his heroes come in, we will be able to isolate them and finish them off. Another long-range fireball coming in after that Skink Priest, and it does manage to clip him, doing some pretty damn decent damage. We haven't even used any of our magic yet as well, so it is a little bit of a concern. Umbral Tide as well. Once again, getting some shots in, and in come the Cold One Spear Riders, just trying to push those guys away. As I have been rotating, I've been leaving the backline a little bit more open. Skink cohort's taking a bit of punishment for some Chaos Warhounds, so we are moving up with all our forces, just trying to defend these guys, and we've done some pretty decent damage so far. Krotgar just hiding in the mist for now, just overseeing the battle, roaring with anger though at the loss of every single one of these Salamanders and Amaxon Barbs. Once again, Chaos Warriors are slowly starting to move up to meet me, and I'm constantly trying to move around, trying to wrap this direction and hop on top of these guys. And the full battle will get underway quite early on, but there's a lot of stress on this game. I was well aware that my son is a very good player, so I was trying my best, and Lizardmen are my best faction as well, so I knew an early win would be so pivotal in a best of 3. Saurus Warriors come driving into these Chaos Marauders here, getting a nice bit of a charge, and with help from the Skink cohorts, they should be able to overrun them relatively quickly. Backline once again a little bit exposed here as the all Mordor Horsemen do come in after the Umbral Tide. We're going to get in here with the Cold One Spear Riders, catch some of these Mordor Horsemen, and finally start to drag a few of them down. You can see all those fireballs going over top as well, in fact routing some of the Mordor Horsemen. And in come the Chaos Warhounds to try and hunt them down, but we're going to pop in with Krotgar, force these guys back. But there is perfect reactions here from my son. Seeing that I'm overextending a little bit with Krotgar, he gets Archaon, the Shaggoth, and both the Exalted Heroes come bursting down that hill, and the Poison Doggo is going to be trying to hop on top of Krotgar to slow him down and allow the trap to be sealed. But we're managing to just about squeeze through our front line, and we're going to get a nice counter charge with the Cold One Spear Riders as well, forcing back these dogs and rescuing Krotgar there. In the front line, Cohort of Sotek tearing apart Chaos Marauders, and we are winning the main frontline engagements for the majority of the part, apart from, of course, where the Chaos Warriors with great weapons have popped in. The Marauders Horsemen still trying to pick into my back line. We are falling back with some of the Cold One Spear Riders, to try and do a little bit of protection. But once again, Krotgar overextends a little bit too far, which was a fault of my own, trying to protect those Amaxon Barbs, and he is now completely surrounded here by 2 heroes, Archaon plus the Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. We're desperately trying to get away and have popped all our buffs. We chuck in a Feral Manticore as well to try and just pin in as many units as possible and fall back through our own troops here in an effort to escape. As you can see, Salamanders once again dealing decent damage to Mordor Horsemen. We do get a nice Flock of Doom trying to finish off these Chaos Marauders. This is a very tightly packed formation now. Once again, Krotgar trying his best to escape here, but somehow Archaon just sneaks by the remainders of these Cold One Spear Riders and slays a couple of the Umbral Tide before continuing his hunt for a very beat up Krotgar. Now, we did manage to win the frontline engagements. We've got a lot of troops chasing that we need to bring them back. A little bit of a miss micro there, trying to pull those guys back to protect the range core of our forces where possible, as these Marauders Horsemen have been a huge pain as we speak. Krotgar in this situation should probably be pulled back round behind these hunting packs to the safety of the Cohort of Sotek, but instead I'm trying to drive off the Mordor Horsemen, and Archaon is well and truly on the hunt here. At this point, I'm pretty convinced Krotgar is dead, so what I'm going to be doing is dragging him as far away from the battlefield as possible to try and lure out Archaon and his Exalted Heroes, and try and mop up the rest of the Chaos Forces before he can get back, and then we can surround the foe. We do have a Feral Manticore rampaging into some Chaos Warhounds, but that's completely fine. He will be able to drag them down. The Dragon Ogre Shaggoth did get pinned in by Cohort of Sotek and some of these brave Cold One Spear Riders, allowing the Salamanders just to delete him so quickly there. He's desperately going to be trying to escape. We do have some Cold Ones nipping at his heels, and he goes down in a very over-the-top and dramatic fashion there. So it looks like the Exalted Heroes, both relatively healthy, and that is my main problem at the moment. You can see Krotgar finally did get caught and is being driven off here by Archaon, and that leadership core is going to be so tough to drag down. But apart from that, the rest of the battle is going relatively well. We have a couple of units of relatively healthy Saurus Warriors, Cohort of Sotek as well, just driving back some Mordor Horsemen. We need to isolate and try and beat down these Chaos Warriors with great weapons if possible. We do have some Skink cohorts who also need to be brought back to the fray, and Cold One Spear Riders just hopping on top of some very sneaky Marauders who are trying to be a bit daring and get into the back line on top of my hunting packs. Umbral Tide is very beat up now, but still has 10 models, can pack quite a decent punch, and Salamanders and Amaxon Barbs equally can do a decent amount of damage. Just firing some shots into some Chaos Warriors here, and we're trying to surround these guys with great weapons, but they're doing such a good job there. A very good count here to the Saurus Warriors, who normally rely on their 60 armor to get the job done, and they're getting carved up right now, even when outnumbered. Now we're going to be trading a little bit more skirmish fire, as the Chaos Warhounds did try and dart into the back line, but the very eager and loyal Cohort of Sotek managed to drive and push them back. We are moving up our remaining forces just to try and hold the line as my opponent comes in an attempt to snipe down the Skink Priest. We did get a nice Flock of Doom hitting a few of these Marauder Horsemen, and in comes another fireball, but luckily the Skink Priest was thrown to the ground, perhaps by a loyal Cold One Spear Rider, keeping him safe from that fireball. We're now trying to surround the Exalted Heroes, and I'm trying to pin them down one by one. They are on horseback, so of course the Salamander hunting packs have a pretty good target with them. Archaon, though, on the hunt for the Maximum Barbs. And one thing I love in particular about the Hunter packs is they're incredibly fast. One poor Razordon does go down, but he is the only one to fall. I've managed to pull back, and now I need to try and kite these heroes to death, which is going to be very hard, as my son is a very good player and good at his micro. So it's going to be pretty tough, but we have managed to surround one Exalted Hero with the Cold One Spear Riders, and going to be able to get some decent shots in as well. Kohov Sotek has popped Refuse to Die, just so we can try and hold the line. See more shots coming in, and some of my Source Warriors and Skinks do lose this engagement on the right hand side. The remains of them trying to fall back into this main blob fight right here. We do get a pretty good value Flock of Doom on some Chaos Warriors with great weapons. They are one of the last remaining really annoying units. I'm not too fussed here by the Northern Horsemen. They're all starting to run out of ammunition. Unfortunately, on the left-hand flank, I simply do not have enough to protect all Warhammer in the hunting packs. Umbral Tide slowly being dragged down, so we do charge in with the Amaxan Barbs, trying to break these Chaos Warhounds as quickly as possible before going back to our nice skirmish game. Exalted Heroes still both going relatively strong. Actually, saying that, this one has finally been broken off here. Down to just 27 health. It's surprising it took him that long to break, but he's going to be falling back now. And the Cohort of Sotek hopping on top of some Marauder Horsemen, as well as these Saurus Warriors beating down Chaos Marauders. So still a very close game. Balance power is against me here. That's probably down to the hero contingent. Another Flock of Doom coming in, bringing down some Chaos Warriors where possible. Looks like we managed to catch both units there. But Archaon is such a beast, and he's going to be so hard to deal with here. Salamanders have taken quite a few losses now, but they are going to be rallying over on the left flank here. So we managed to shatter off some Chaos Warhounds. The Maximum Barb's going to be firing into the Skink Priest. So my plan basically now is actually to try and lure Archaon in with the Skink Priest. Hopefully RNG goes in my favour with the Skink Priest being basically hit to the floor over and over again, and then snipe him out with the Amaxan Barbs. But even with all the ammunition left, it's going to be pretty damn tough. Salamander's doing a bit of nice crossfire here into Marauder Horsemen, trying to break those guys off to allow the Amaxan Barbs a reason to escape here. Looks like a Cascade and Firecloak has been popped down onto Archaon the Everchosen here, but we managed to beat off these Marauder Horsemen. And over here, we do have the Cohort of Sotek going toe-to-toe, completely surrounded here, but doing some fantastic value. 137 kills in these guys, but really nice cycle charge in coming in with the Chaos. We do have some Saurus Warriors rallying over on the hill here as well, come charging down to the aid of their Skink brethren. Doing a decent job, and going to be pulling down these Marauder Horsemen from their horses with relative ease. There's still a dirty Exalted Hero over there, relatively healthy. And Archaon as well, still doing pretty good as the balance power does start to go away from me here. But we still have some volleys left. So perhaps if all of those shots can somehow hit Archaon and we can scare him off, perhaps there is hope yet for the great plan. Cohort of Sotek still going toe-to-toe with Chaos Warriors, down to 19 models on this unit and 25 of the cohort. These little Red Cross Skinks who have been really MVPs this game, holding the line and protecting the back line for as long as they can. And they're perfect actually for dealing with the Chaos Warriors, dragging these guys down. Looks like we are in fact starting to rout them, but the Saurus Warriors on the hill, with the help of the Exalted Hero, have been dispatched. And we now do have army losses kicking in, and our little doggos do run for the hills here and start to fall back. But as you can see, not much is left at all. We basically have Archaon, an Exalted Hero, and one beat-up unit of Marauder Horsemen who do not have any ammunition left. So a really close game and a super fun game indeed. But in this best of 3 series, my son does indeed take the lead. So we're going to quickly pop up a screen blocker here. Boop. This was sent in by the mighty A-Move hacker here. And just so you guys can't see what any of my replays are named in case there are any spoilers. So we're going to load into the next game now. Here we go. And I'm going to take away the screen blocker before I forget. Boop. And here we go. So I'm playing on Pillar of Bone. My son is rocking with the Emperor, or well, the Karl Franz himself, and the forces of the Empire up against my High Elves. And you may have spotted, I have gone for the ultimate build. Gondor has called for aid and the High Elves shall answer. We have a full Rohirrim build. Every single elf is on horseback here. So right in the very front we have a couple of units of Illyrian Reaver archers. So normally in this type of build I bring a Star Dragon to add that extra punch, but coming in up against the Empire and seeing how well he used his skirmish cav in the previous game, I was expecting Outriders and Pistoliers, so these guys were here just to counter that a little bit. In the front line we do have a ton of Silver Helms with shields riding gloriously into battle. They should trade okay with Empire Knights and other kind of cheap heavy infantry, but they do some huge shock damage and should be pretty good at running over swordsmen and Empire State troops in general. We do have 3 units of Dragon Princes as well, chevrons up for extra bad archery, including the Regiment of Renowned Fireborn with their flaming lances. Certainly got to look to protect these guys up against cannons and so forth. And leading the line is Queen Theoden herself, Alariel the Radiant, coming in with Star of Avalon, Tempest, Shield of Thorns, and Earthblood. So that's going to be my build for the most part. We also have 2 units of Illyrian Reavers in the back line who are instantly going to try to react to my opponent's build. So for his forces, he does have 3 units of Outriders as expected, so I'm trying to get my Illyrian Reavers over there now. These guys can be doing some great armor piercing, especially up against the Dragon Princes. In the front line, he has 3 units of Swordsmen, and in the back lines, dotted around, he has, I believe, 4 units of Spearmen in a really nice wide defensive formation. They're going to be protecting a Great Cannon in the back here. We have a couple of units of Empire Knights as well. A mighty steam tank. What a guy bringing this mighty beast. But it's not too terrible. It does cause terror and is unbreakable, of course. And is still a unbreakable cannon at the end of the day. And not too bad in melee. We also have a Jade Wizard in the back here with Regrowth and Earthblood. And up in the skies, as previously stated already, we have the boy, Karl Franz, riding on top of Deathclaw here. He looks so funny. It looks like he's squatting. It doesn't really look like he's got too much of a seat there. But he is going to be bringing the Reichland Runefang here, which is certainly going to help out in any big blob engagements. So without further ado, guys, let's get this battle underway. Now, I'm going to try and catch as much as possible. This was a very micro-intensive battle, as you can expect from all these cav forces. So we are trying to drive back the Outriders here, and we're going to be popping in as well with Illyrian Reavers. At this point, I've noticed he's been lured in with these Empire Knights. Well, not really lured in, but countercharging my Illyrian Reavers. So while all this micro is going on this right-hand flank, we're going to be darting it in the back here with some Illyrian Reavers, trying to shut down this Great Cannon, who's already got 8 kills, and then the battle has only just started. Illyrian Reavers getting some fantastic shock damage, flinging those crew miles in the air. So very quick micro though by my son, getting the Spearman in and all his Outriders to shoot him, but it looks like we are going to be able to break off the Great Cannon. But once again, while all his micro is focused over there, we're going to try and get some cycle charging done into the front line. Silver Helms teaming up here to try and break down the Swordsmen, and we're often rolling in groups of 2, just trying to really overwhelm the opponent as quickly as possible and break these troops off the battlefield. Swordsmen being flung to the ground there by Silver Helms, and in the distance you can see Dragon Princes and a mixture of Silver Helms going into the Swordsmen. And my problem here is the Spearmen, so we're really trying to pound down the Spearmen as quickly as possible with our elite troops, as these guys of course do come in with that anti-large, so we're trying to break them as quickly as possible here. And see, battle is starting to gauge all over the field. I'm trying to fall back on the left-hand flank with the Silver Helms, so we are counter-charged by Empire Knights and that steam tank. But in the centre pockets, we managed to eat up these swordsmen relatively effectively here. And unfortunately, they were in a bit of a tricky situation here, not going to be too good up against Cav. And they are starting to get dragged down. But nice Overwatch fire coming in from the Outriders. So we are going to be falling back with these units and trying to push more into the back line. Whereas the Illyrian Reavers, once again, trying to follow the Outriders where possible and trade and slowly drag those guys down. In the back line, we've managed to force our way through 1 unit of Spin, but a second one is here. So we're going to be dropping an Earthblood. Unfortunately, a bit of a miss micro, didn't catch the Dragon Princes, just the Silver Helms there. And trying to slam into these Silver Helms and drag them down as quickly as possible. Great Cannon crew is rallying here, so we're going to pop back here with some Illyrian Reavers and hunt those guys down as much as possible. So nice archer fire coming from the Illyrian Reavers. I wasn't completely sold on these guys, but they're doing some pretty decent damage and at least pushing back the Outriders where possible. We do try and sneak in the back with some Illyrian Reavers onto them, but nice counterplay by my opponent. Spearmen coming in and just pushing those Illyrian Reavers back, keeping them at arm's reach and protecting this very, fairly expensive and elite core of Outriders. So we do drop a Tempest in on Karl Franz here, going for the overextended one, but he manages to escape for the most part, which is pretty frustrating. He manages to get out of there, still being slowed down. We do drop our first Star of Avalon as we try and drag down these Spearmen and Empire Knights. Illyrian Reavers as well being used to hunt down remaining troops in the back line. So we do fall back a little bit as Karl Franz does pop in here. Although we do get hit, it looks like, by some debuff there, as we do have all the smoke coming off us there. We're going to be falling back, so not getting the full value, unfortunately, from the Star of Avalon. Dragon Prince is now riding into the back lines on top of these Outriders and the Leon Reavers as well, dropping down to these Empire Knights to try and pin them in place with the last little bit of health we do have, so they can't countercharge our Dragon Princes here, and we do manage to break off the Outriders before retreating and driving up into this next batch over here. Looks like the Fireborn do have a Shield of Thorns popped on them, but a little bit too little too late there, as they are in fact terrified away, but they should be coming back to the field and rallying relatively quickly. Dragon Princes and Silver Helms here working as a tag team to beat down some Spearmen. And in the back lines, one of our units of Dragon Princes has unfortunately been isolated here by Karl Franz. We were hunting down Outriders, getting a little bit greedy here. We do manage to destroy those guys, but Karl Franz is certainly about to drive off these Dragon Princes, who are Silver Chevrons now, with the help of Empire Knights, Spearmen, and those Outriders' Overwatch fire. Unfortunately, those Dragon Princes will be lost to the world. Over here we do have some returning Silver Helms coming in, and unfortunately we haven't really been able to get to grips with the steam tank. I was a little bit in two minds of how to deal with this. You don't often actually fight steam tanks, so I was trying to leave it to the end so perhaps I could surround and destroy, but this looks like a perfect opportunity where it's isolated, as it is up to 48 kills, getting some really decent damage on my heavy cav forces. Looks like some Empire Knights did come in to try and shut down my Leon Reaver archers, but Alario's going to be popping in there, trying to pin them in place to allow the Fireborn to dart in here heroically and hunt down those Empire Knights. Looks like a few of them are a little bit late to the engagement as well. This is going to be a really good engagement, trying to get rid of the mobility of the Empire forces. In the back line, Dragon Princes managed to finally shatter that Great Cannon crew and drive off some swordsmen. We do have another unit as well, constantly in pursuit of the Jade Wizard, who's been getting some really good value so far. Another Tempest does come down on Karl Franz, but his attack animation actually manages to drag him out of it, and with a regrowth, he's not going to mind that too much. Silver Helm's going to be falling back from Franz Meister. They've done their job in breaking those Spearmen. But in the back lines, you can see our poor Dragon Princes being forced off by Empire Knights. We do manage to destroy this unit of Empire Knights though with the help of the Fireborn and Lariel. The big cannon shots coming in doing constant great damage, and our Leon Reaver archers are actually out of ammunition now, going to be hunting down Outriders where possible, trying to drive them back and protect our remaining elite units of Dragon Princes here. Karl Franz still relatively healthy here, coming in with so many regrows, keeping him nice and topped up, but he's not even near his healing cap just yet. He is trying to get to grips with these Reaver archers, but we're going to be simply pulling back for now, trying to use our extra mobility across the battlefield to hunt down units, forcing off Outriders where we can, and surrounding these last units of state troops, really trying to drag them down as quickly as possible, coming in with those constant charges. You see their leadership is starting to falter here. This is given an opportunity though for the Outriders and Cannon to get some really fantastic value here. And he still has one unit of Empire Knights as well, darting around in the background, trying to chase off one or two of the last shattered Dragon Princes here. So I'm going to come in for a bit of a bob fight here as the Leon Reavers do come in to try and surround the steam tank. But Karl Franz pops in with his Reichland Rune Fan. We're going to be trying to surround him as much as possible. We are going to be using the Leon Reaver archers to try and force our way through onto the Outriders and shut them down. But all the healing is coming in, Earthblood on the Empire side and Star of Avalon on my side, as we're doing some really big burst damage finally to Karl Franz, and the blob fight has begun. We do have more Leon Reaver archers as well darting in back line here, trying to hunt down the Outriders. My real problem here is trying to shut down this Jade Wizard, who's getting such good value in keeping these forces fighting. Healing is so good on the steam tank and Karl Franz, although he's starting to reach his healing cap. Regrowth is really keeping him in the action here. See, we've got some more charges coming to the back line here by the Silver Helms, really trying to shut down Karl Franz. At this point, I realise the balance of power is quite against me, so I'm trying to take out their leadership to even that up slightly. And with that, we should be able to chase off most of the units and hopefully surround the steam tank. Leon Reaver archers did finally break off those Outriders and will be coming in for a charge into the back lines here. Once again, they're not going to be too great up against the steam tank. So what I really wanted to do in this situation was gain some nice cycle charging, but I was a little bit worried if we started to pull back our troops. They are all relatively low on health. We'd take one or two rear attacks as we pull back and start to break. So instead, we're going to be pulling our Lariel back. He's going to be hopping on some of these Spearmen and rallying troops, trying to keep them away from the main engagement and dropping hills where we can. Fortunately, some of the Dragon Princes, seeing that their lady has indeed fallen back, are starting to break here, and the Fireborn indeed are in fact terrified, which is never good. Karl Franz finally has reached his healing cap down to about 1,800 health here. And we do have Empire Knights as well rallying to the force, but what you see is pretty much what you get. We do have that one unit of 40 Knights over there who would be pretty tricky to deal with, but as you can see, a ton of our forces are starting to break here and die away, but I've not given up hope just yet. Alarielle is going to be falling back and wrapping round to this right-hand flank, trying to rally troops where possible, as some Silver Helms are going to be sacrificed here, charging in, trying to pin in these Empire forces to give buy time for the rest of our forces to rally. And they're going to be popping in here, just dancing with Franz a little bit before also falling back. So, most of our forces are going to be starting to rally here, and Karl Franz is down to 1,700 health, and I still have a sneaky card in my back pocket. I was waiting for the Franz Meister himself to hop into the sky here, and then we're going to be darting in with Alarielle. Queen Feared in here, going to be popping down a Tempest on the mighty Franz Meister, and unfortunately we didn't have enough magic anymore for an overextended one. Going to be doing some pretty decent slowing and damage, as he does come charging in. We're going to be trying to dart on top of the Jade Wizard, but Karl Franz so low on health here. We're going to be trying to surround him and destroy him here. Still 1,000 health as all of our forces rally to the Queen here, charging in for the final blob engagement. Let's see, so we have some Empire Knights driving away Illyrian Reavers, and the bigger unit of 40 is coming into play, which could be a little bit of a shock to my troops if they do come in with a nice rear attack here. And Karl Franz, desperately low, does manage to fall back here with 600 health, and with him getting back in the sky, there's really not too much hope here. We were going to try and pull back and pick on his other forces and wait for another Tempest, but unfortunately we do go down there with a valiant defeat, so very well played there to my son, and let's go to the end stats here. So overall, a super fun game, and probably my favourite games actually of the tournament I played in, even though I lost. Two very close games and super fun builds by both players, and my son will be moving on to the finals. So this was indeed the semi-final, but don't worry, I still have one more game to come in this tournament, as me and Exploding Hamster will go head to head in a third place playoff, which is still going to be a best of 3. Now, I believe the Rohan build can actually work pretty well with certain forces, one of them being the High Elves. So as I spoke about previously, normally I don't take the Reaver Archers and probably take some of the Chevrons off and instead have a Star Dragon to add some much needed punch. But of course, coming up against the Empire, I was a lot more scared of guns, cannons and so forth. So I thought, you know, we're getting some fast moving Illyrian Reaver Archers instead. Do that constant fire to try and drive back Pistoliers and Outriders and so forth, and they did a relatively decent job, but still great play overall by my son, getting some good value from those Outriders overall. But what can I say, really fun game, and definitely go check out the other guys who are playing in the Quarantine Content Creators Tournament, as they'll be hosting all of their games on their channels, and all of these will be added to a shared playlist as well. I'm not sure yet how to get the playlist up next to my videos. It's really annoying, I'm trying to figure that out, but if you go over to Samurai Warrior, he has managed to master that art, and the people who played in this tournament are Aerocrastic, Darv Plays, Turin, Zardar Total War, my son HW, Exploding Hamster, and Samurai Warrior, and of course myself. So once again, big shout out for Samurai Warrior for creating this event, trying to show unity and togetherness in this very dark time, unfortunately, and trying to give you guys a little bit of a respite if you are locked inside for a little bit too long. And yeah, massive thank you for letting me take part as well. So anyway guys, if you did enjoy this, please do consider dropping a big old thumbs up button and subscribing if you are new to the channel. We do all kinds of Total War content. If you want to get replays shown on my channel or get involved in tournaments and so forth, please feel free to join my Discord just down in the description below. But anyway guys, until next time, peace, and stay awesome.